Welcome back everyone. In this tutorial we will be working with the model class. I told you from the first tutorial that Django is actually an ORM-based web framework. So this model class actually handles database operations. We don't have to handle different SQL queries for different types of databases here. So be it MySQL or Oracle or PostgresQL database or any NoSQL database, whatever it is, Django engine is capable of handling these types of database operations. So let's now see practically how Django handles database operations. So, let's first open the models.py file. First, let's define a class named client and pass models model inside the parentheses. Here, I actually want to create a table named client. Now I will define some fields for this class, which will actually be defined as column fields for our database table, where the table name will be client. So the first property will be full name, which is a character field. So type models.charField. And I will define the maximum length of this field as 100 characters. So max_length equals 100. Then define another field called email, and in particular we will use email field as the field type, because it will automatically validate the email format when the user enters the email. In this case, I will give the maximum length of 50 in this email field. If you want, you can give a larger value in the max length. I think it shouldn't be defined for email field with length of only 50 characters. Let's make it maximum length of 100. Now, let's define another column called phone and define it as a character field as well. You can also define it as a number field. And in this case I will give the max length 15. I think that's enough. Now let's define another field called address in the same way. Let's define this as charField as well, and in this case set the max length to 250. You can give a larger value if you want. Now let's define a field called city and keep the field properties the same as the field above. Just like the city field, we also define the state field. Finally, we define the zip field and also define it as a charField because there are many countries in the world that maintain zip codes using a combination of numbers and letters. For example, cities in Canada. Now let's define the string method. Here we want to show the data of full name and email. If you want to show the data of any other column, then you have to give the name of that column here. So inside the parentheses of the return statement, type F, then inside the double quotation marks, type self.fullname with curly brackets. And similarly for the email field, type self.email with curly brackets. So we have completed the work of our model class for now. After defining a new model class and its fields, we must run the make migrates command to create the database table and its columns. So, let's run the command. Before running the command, let's take a look at the admin panel. There are some things I need to share with you that will help us understand better. To run the server, type python manage.py run server. Okay, so our project is running. Let's take a look at the admin panel. Here I see that there are only two options here, groups and users. After migration, we should expect a new option client here, right? Let's check our database now. You won't see any table called clients there either. This is our database, let's expand it. Look, I don't see a table called clients here yet, right? You can refresh and see if there's anything called clients here. You see, there's no table called clients here. Now let's shut down the server. Now for migrations, type python manage.py make migrations. Note that it will be make migrations, not migration. That means there will be an S at the end. Hopefully you have already caught this. Okay, our migration has been completed successfully. Here you can see that a py file has been created. This py file is located in the migrations folder in the web app folder. If you open this file, you will see that the fields are defined here in the same way as the columns of a database table are defined, where a primary key ID has been created with the fields we have defined. Well, I think we're missing something. We should define a date field. Right? Let's define a date field. Let's define a date field called created@. We will choose datetime field as its field type. Now, we will set auto_now_add equals true in the properties of this field so that this field can automatically store the time when we save our data record to the database. Now we need to run the migration again because a new field has been added to our client model. So let's run the migration command like last time. Don't be afraid to see this message. It's actually nothing, since I added the auto now add property to the created at field, which actually sets the current date time as the default value. It's giving a warning message. Just press 1 to continue. Look, another new py file has been created in the migration folder. In fact, every time you run the migration command, a new file will be created like this. Notice here that we see the name of our newly defined field here. Now we have one last task left. We need to push the whole thing to the database, so type python manage.py migrate then hit enter. We have successfully migrated the database. So, what we once did is like this. We have created the model class and defined its fields and run the make migrations command. Now we need to push this whole thing to the database. In simple terms, now we need to create the table and its fields for this client in our database. Here I see a new table named webapp_client has been created in the database server. Let's take a look at this table. Here, see how this table is created with the fields we defined. So this is how any other database server works with the Django ORM framework. So the table has been created in the database. Now our next target is to make it operational in the admin panel. So to do that, let's go to the admin.py file. So before we start working on the admin.py file, let's visit the admin panel again. Oops! The server is off. It needs to be run first. Okay, now our server is up and running. Now let's take a look again. You see here that we don't see anything here except those groups and users options. Now let's go back to the admin.py file. Let's arrange to bring our client option to the admin panel. This is a pretty simple task, just type admin site.register and then pass our model class inside the parentheses. Here we need to import the model class. That means we need to import the client model class. It's like registering our client model class to access it from the admin panel. Okay. Now let's check the admin panel again to see if our client option is there or not. Just refresh your web browser and see. Great, here we see our client option, although it has an S added to it. This is actually how the Django engine creates it. So we can also store new records in the database from this admin panel. Let's store some data. Now hit the Save button. Great, our data has been saved. Now let's check our database. Let's see if the data is saved there properly. Look, our newly created data has been successfully saved in the database. Here you see that our created at field has also automatically taken the date and time value of the data being saved. Now let's show the created at field in the client list. To do that, we add the created at field to this return statement in the same way as the full name and email fields. Now save the file and let's check if the created at field is showing or not. Here you see only the full name and email fields are showing. Just refresh the browser and then see. Now see that the value of our created at field is now also showing in this list view. Now let's add another record. Let's do something different. Instead of entering an email in the email field, we just put a simple text value. Then the remaining values can be entered as normal way. This email field is supposed to display an error message when saving this record. Now, hit the Save button. See here the error message is showing because we defined this field as an email field in the model class. Now let's try saving this record again with an email formatted value. Now click on the Save button to save this record. Great, our second record has also been successfully saved to the database. Now there is one problem, which is to give this list a professional look. Here, the three values of name, email, date seem to be mixed together, right? So let's solve this issue. Let's define a class and name it client admin. And inside the parentheses type admin model admin. Now let's declare a variable called list_display and add the names of the columns we want to see here. So we want to see full name, email, and created at as columns in the client list view in the admin panel. So let's add full name, email and create it inside the parentheses. Now pass the client admin class with a comma in the admin site register. Okay. Now let's save the admin.py file and go to the admin panel to see what our final output looks like. Refresh the browser and see the change. Wow, now our list view looks much more professional than before, right? So we are almost done with this tutorial. The next tutorial is going to be more interesting. If you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, subscribe to the channel so that you can get the latest tutorials on machine learning, AI, deep learning, data analysis and data engineering. Hope to see you in the next tutorial.